We want to welcome you in on this Friday. We made it through another week here together as we take a closer look at the coronavirus numbers here in Arizona. As you join us in the comments, let us know where you're watching from. We'll get you the very latest information, even down to your neighborhood as it came out for us last night. We're going to get to the summary page as we always do, but Garrett, there is so much chatter right now about this R naught number, and we always go to RT Live to track this. But this has some people concerned, so let's dive into it and talk about what's shaping this number at this point.
All right. Well, I've got it pulled up already. Let's, like I said, just jump right in. So here we are, and let me actually darken this, of course, so that it's a little easier to read. Okay, and you can see, obviously, Arizona is not in the green right now. In fact, it's sort of at the top of the list over here in the red at 1.1, with a range of anywhere from 0.85 to 1.35. That's where it's saying right now. So, of course, this is a concern. It's always a concern to look at these RT numbers. We can't look at when they're at the very, very bottom of the page in the green and celebrate and not be concerned when they're here at the top. So, but what I will say about this is that this is sort of, and I'll show you how to read this here. If you go to the details page and you come down here and you can see this graph, it's a little hard to read this graph darkened, so I'm going to lighten it back up to read this. And you can see right here, this is sort of the meat and potatoes of how the RT is calculated. And what we're seeing right now is obviously, you know, we crossed the threshold right here. This is where it was thinking we were going down the entire time. And then we sort of crossed this threshold right here on August 28th. This is its presumption, of course. And now things started to pick back up. That's how the RT perceives things are going in Arizona. So let me just show you how things are actually going in Arizona so that we can, you know, compare and contrast how RT thinks things are going and how things are actually going. So I'm going to stop sharing this and go back to the AZDHS and share this page really quick. This is the case counts, just the simple case counts. And I'm actually going to make this a little easier to read by putting it onto a weekly graph. So you can see, you know, obviously we've had this very almost symmetrical spike that happened, and then it started going down. But see right here is sort of the concern of the RT right now. You can see from August 16th to August 23rd, we had an increase in cases that has continued. It also did, you know, we have a decrease in cases on August 30th, but it's not as prominent as some of these decreases. And so what you're saying, and this one's not complete yet, so just ignore that one. So what's happening is the RT Live, even though we are having a decrease in cases still, the RT Live is picking up our reported numbers, which are the numbers that we see every day and we talk about here on this summary page every single day. And because of things that have happened with ASU doing a mass amount of testing in the last couple of weeks, as well as some Department of Corrections testing and some other things that have, and not to mention some administrative backfill that's happened at the AZDHS, that has sort of caused a lot of noise in our RT for the last couple of days. I'd say about 3 to 4 or 5 days now. So while this is a concern, we have to understand the difference between the noise of the data and what's actually going on. And sometimes the RT can be noise. And this, I think, in my opinion, as of right now, the RT being this high is very likely noise and should settle next week. Once we get past that Department of Corrections and ASU testing that sort of got us into a spin this week, and hopefully the AZDHS will be finished backfilling as much as they have. They didn't do as much backfilling today, and when I say backfilling, of course, this means that they're adding. What's happening is they add case positives to the curve without corresponding negatives, and that pushes our percent positive through the roof. In fact, we had a 20% positive posted 2 days ago. Our actual percent positive is lower than 4%. And if you look at the weekly numbers, it still remains lower than 4%. But this backfilling that's been occurring, and I'll show you that, the testing graphs really quick. You can see right here, 4% right there is our last week, 4%, 4%. So we've had 3 weeks in a row where our percent positives have been 4%. And that 20% that we had a couple days ago does cause the ramping up of the RT. But if this 4% is the norm and the backfilling sort of is administratively finished, or at least they get a little bit more ahead of themselves, we will stop seeing these massive fluctuations in the RT.
So just to recap for everybody, values of the RT or the R naught over 1, so anything above 1.0, mean that we should expect to see more cases in our area. Values under 1.0 mean we should expect to see fewer. But what you're saying is, yes, look at that, and then also double check it back with this graph, which is at the bottom of AZDHS's site, where the anomalies in that RT that we can see from day to day are sort of smoothed out because we're looking at this week to week.
Yes, and you can see, if you look again at that case curve, there was a slight increase in cases, and that's why it thinks we're at 1. Remember, 1.1 is a very slow increase. So right now, it does assume that we have a slow increase, and when we started testing ASU, we did in fact have a very small increase. So whether that continues, that's what RT is going to be sensitive to. If the increase in cases continues, but I don't really see that happening right now because it does seem that the bump has been isolated to ASU. But again, the way I look at these things is if the RT remains over 1 for 14 days, that's probably an indication that it is in fact spreading. And the same goes for the opposite. If it stays under for 14 days, which it had for a while, then the infections are not they're declining. So that's sort of the way I look at it. Really, with these reported numbers, I would give it 14 days on one side or the other. And if it keeps changing sides, 3 days at 1, 3 days under 1, it's probably just a lot of noise, and we're probably close to 1, or in that sort of range. But it's not really something to be super concerned about at this point.
Yeah, I've gotten so many questions about that over the last 48 hours or so. Is there anywhere, Garrett, besides everybody just meeting up with us here on this, that they're tracking the days over? I mean, we've probably seen now 3 or 4 days where this has gone up since we've seen it a little bit lower on here. Is there anywhere, I don't think it's on this site, where it can kind of show us that change, unless I'm trying to think, unless maybe they pulled it up where they look at like the 90 days back or something like that on this site.
Well, let's see. Let me see if I can figure that out. So the RT is typically recalculated in the entire curve. It's usually not assigned. And some of the ones we've looked at before to show where the RT range, and I'll show you. We've looked at RT live, but let me show you COVID exit strategy. This is sort of just to compare and contrast how these things are calculated and how it can change. I've got this pulled up. It might be a little hard to see, but here's Arizona, and COVID exit strategy currently has us at a 0.9. And so that presumes we're under 1. I did check the Yuyangu, the MIT model this morning, and it also presumes we're under 1. In fact, that one presumes that we're still in the 0.8, I think 0.85 range. So again, when you look at these things, you must understand that these are estimates, and they're doing the best they can to give us where they think what is going on. But I tend to want to look at more than one to see, if you look at these 3, essentially 2 of them have us under 1 and 1 has us over 1. So that's just something to take into consideration.
Yeah. And there's one other place I wanted to dip into today because it is such an easy place to get sort of a snapshot state to state, and that is on the Johns Hopkins site. They have a testing tracker, which is kind of like an overview. So it's a great place for people if they want to see maybe their home state or where friends and family live or their parents live and they just want to check on things. We've added the site to the bottom of the screen there, and they also kind of look at things like a broad overview, but I want to know the limitations of this site as well. I know that they get information very quickly, but is it the most accurate place we could go at this point, or is it delayed so much that it's not in real time for us?
It's absolutely not delayed, but and what I'll say is it has gotten better, because again, a lot of these numbers, numbers are all relied on our reported numbers. So if you remember back a couple weeks ago, there were not a couple weeks ago, like 3 to 4 weeks ago, when we had those massive backlogs, I was telling everyone at that time, be very cautious about these percent positives. There's a lot of backfilling going on. There's a lot of tests that will be putting in the system that are from 15, 16 days ago. All of these trackers, John Hopkins, COVIDtracking.com, they really have no idea what's going on because of this testing lag. So now we don't have a testing lag. So, but what we do have is this sort of backfilling of positive cases that we've seen. And what we've sort of gotten from AZDHS on what this could be about is that what's happening is a lot of these labs that were reporting by fax or by email or something that isn't reporting directly into the electronic reporting system, some of them have actually sent electronic batches over that would include both their negatives and their positives. And so what's happening is a lot of these cases, when a batch goes through, a lot of these cases, these positive cases are being added to the curve. And then in the next couple, the corresponding days after that, they're being removed from the curve because they had already been recorded, but they're being deduplicated. And again, that causes noise. So these John Hopkins University COVIDtracking.coms, these will have a little bit of noise in them, but it's much better than it used to be. For example, right now it thinks that Arizona's percent positive is 6.1. Right. That is a little higher than it actually is, but it's not that bad. The 6.1 right now, it's about 4%, a 3.84%. So it's only 2 points off. There were times back 4 weeks ago when these trackers were 9, 10 points off, especially while we were on our decline. We were showing 4, 5, 6% positives, and these sites were showing us at 15, 16%. So, you know, it took them a while to catch up. They are starting to catch up. And so now it's sort of a noise situation, but it's a much smaller amount of noise.
I think it's helpful too on this, not the map that you were last showing, but this particular page right here that you're sharing, because it shares the last 2 weeks. So we can see that they have markers up for both percent positive, markers down for that 10 per 10, I can barely read it, per 1,000 cases in the center there. So it kind of gives us a little better overview of how things look, and then you can compare to other states. I just want to remind folks that
this is exactly what I'm talking about. This right here. This is September 9th, 19% positive.
Right.
We were nowhere near a 19% positive of actual cases that were being added to the system. It was just duplicates that came in that actually came out today. In fact, a lot of those duplicates came out. It's not garbage in, garbage out, Anthony. We are looking at healthcare data. We're trying to look at this in real time while the epidemiologists at the AZ Department of Health are trying to deduplicate it and make sense of it at the same time, but they have these reporting requirements. So it's going to cause noise. That is just something we have to accept while we're doing this. So when we see this, you know, they're doing the best they can to calculate and track COVID-19. But here we at the state level who have the ability to look at this data at a much more in-depth method need to understand that when we see this 19.1%, we know that this isn't 19.1%. But again, over time, they will meet. It's just going to take a long time for them to meet.
So, and one of the things on that, when they're tracking all the states, they don't have, what I'm hearing from you is the luxury of knowing exactly the limitations or the situation in each particular state. This doesn't track that necessarily. That's why we all meet here to help you better understand what's going on.
I mean, this is a great, Arkansas right here is a great example. I mean, September 9th, they had 100% positive. That's just not statistically possible. So for them to get 100% positive, that means that was a very low testing day, and all of them came back, but it was probably only like 50 tests or something like that. You know, but it causes a lot of noise in the data.
Yeah. So I do want to get to some of the questions. I haven't been able to get to many of the comments. Julie writes, is the R0 number over 1 today? Yes. For Arizona, it is 1.10 with a range of 0.85 all the way up to 1.35. So that's why we wanted to kind of start with that and get you updated on those changes. Someone else just a minute ago asked where you can go to get a test really want to make sure you have that information. It is do I need a COVID-19 test.com. That will show you all the sites in Arizona. You can pick the date that works best for you, the time and location that works best for you. It's easy to sign up. They have both the saliva test through ASU and the regular nasal swab tests as well. Yep, there's Vanessa's comment. So Vanessa, happy to help you. That's the site that I would go to first. You can also go to the Arizona Department of Health website, but sometimes it can be harder to maneuver and harder to find that information. So that's the easiest place to go. Let's see. So many questions. Rod is asking, what are the numbers for Phoenix and Safford? So we could break it out by county, or maybe he's looking for the overall number. Let's go to the summary page. Let's do that, Garrett. We can come back to the RNOT if we have more questions on that. We haven't done that yet. We added more than 500 cases here today in Arizona, so that ups our total just a bit. We kind of we're seeing around 500 cases each day when we're on a weekday, it seems now.
Yeah, absolutely. And today was actually, when I looked at the epi curve, it was pretty close to 500. So this wasn't a backfilling day. As I said, a lot of cases were withdrawn from the curve today. So that 500 is actually a pretty accurate assessment of what happened. So let me share the screen. I just realized I hadn't had it shared. I'm like, why is this not up yet? I actually have to push the button. So I pushed the button. We had about 521 new cases today with 15 new deaths. These, again, when I say new, that just means recent or at least picked up and reported by the AZDHS. 6670 was the PCR, the diagnostic test. That puts us at about that basic percent positive that I'm talking about. It's about a 7.8% today, but the actual percent positive is a little closer to 3.8. So you can see there's that difference there between them. But you know, that's just what we have to mark both of them because we have to be able to match up with Johns Hopkins as well. Other than that, this has kind of stayed here for a couple days now. It continues to go down. This serology percent positive has not moved up for quite some time, but you know, this was pretty typical of a day we've had since you know, for the last couple of weeks.
All right, and we were thinking that maybe we would see some more numbers after the holiday and the slower reporting over the weekend, but it's really been pretty steady all week long for us as we track this. Yes. I saw that we are past 28 million cases around the world, but also 911,000 deaths worldwide. More than 192,000 of those here in the United States alone. So we haven't updated that number in a while, and I wanted to get caught up on that. One of the things everybody's talking about is the vaccine trials, and there are currently 2 trials here in Arizona, but as we've been reporting, you can sign up for these, but the one from CCT Research is on hold right now, that one here in Arizona, but I'll still pass along the website for anyone interested in signing up for the future, cctresearch.com, and the other trial in Arizona, HRI, that's Hope Research Institute, az.com. So those 2 places are the places that you can still sign up and try to work for change so that we can quickly, hopefully, have a vaccine for all of this. All right, Garrett, some of the other numbers coming out of the schools and ASU are ASU, U of A, and NAU. I wanted to quickly update everybody on that. We do get new numbers out of ASU on Thursday evening, so I'll try to make sure I update all of you on Fridays on that. ASU's numbers, more than 1,400. They have tested more than 50,000 people. At U of A, they had 196 cases of the 23,000 tests done there. And then at NAU, remember, they went back a little bit later, but they're at 56 cases of the 3,000 tests that they have taken there. So we wanted to keep you caught up on that. Garrett, some of the other things that people are always asking about, we did have the results in today that are pretty typical, it seems. We had 7,500 results come into AZDHS for tests. Total, we've had about 1.5 million tests done. But it seems like we're around that 7,000 mark now, that we've kind of settled into that. There will be a few lower days on the weekends, but that seems pretty typical.
Yeah, I'm turning my head because I'm looking at the sheet while you're talking to sort of look at what's happened. Like, for example, on September 4th and 5th, that's when ASU was doing its testing, and we had essentially 30,000 tests drop in those 2 days. But after that, yeah, it was 62, 43, 32, 25, 35, 66. So like sort of this anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000. And then prior to that, it was a little higher. So our testing is going down. The average for last week was likely much higher than it is for this week, especially if I take out the ASU testing drops. But yeah, it seems that around that 6,000, 7,000 range is sort of where we're falling right now.
Yeah. I see Jenny's comment. Wow, you're freaking me out. I can't tell when people comment. I should let you all know this. I can see all your comments, but I can't tell if you're commenting to someone else or you're commenting to us. So I hope you're not freaking out, Jenny, with the information we're providing here. This is something that Garrett and I do each day, and we provide the information on where to find the data, where to find the research out there. These websites are not all streamlined, and some can be convoluted, and we stare at this stuff all day. So we just want to teach you guys how to find the information, answer any questions that you might have. I know that some kids have been out of school and now surveys are starting. So parents are once again having to make decisions about whether they should send their kids back to school, and they're looking for the very latest data. So we're not here to make decisions on anybody's life, and we're definitely not here to freak you out. We want to help you be so equipped with the numbers that you feel confident in your choice, whatever that choice may be. So any questions that we can answer, we're happy to do that. But Jenny, I hope you're not freaking out. We're here to educate and here to help. And that is our mission right here. All right. Let's see. One of the other things that everybody always asks about is the hospitals. We are in such good shape right now with these hospitals. But of course, we're coming up on flu season. The campaign here in Arizona is going to be called Roll Up Your Sleeve. They want people to get out there, get a flu shot, so we do not overwhelm our hospitals and we don't send our healthcare workers back into that frenzied situation that they're in to try to save lives, double time, overtime, and just taxing them mentally and physically to save lives here. So they're hoping everybody's going to go ahead and get their flu shot this year. But as of right now, Garrett, the numbers look pretty good.
Numbers look pretty good. There's been no change in the actual census numbers. They're about the same as they were. Emergency room visits are dropping. COVID-19 visits are essentially where they were in early April, late March. This is the inpatient dashboard, as you can see. This is about, I think it's 413 or 12. One of these out here, back here, like April 16th, that's sort of where we are with the inpatient. Ventilator use is at record lows every single day. ICU beds, in fact, it's under 200 at this point. Today was the first day across that. It's now back under 200, and that hasn't happened since the very beginning. That was the only other time it's been under 200. So really, it's a record for ICU patients. Discharges up a little bit, but still within the same trend line. Emergency room visits, same exact thing we were talking about. It is still down, but it sort of has a more gradual trend line than everything else. And then the intubations are also very much down. So everything is down. I said the censuses are looking very good.
Okay. I want to get to some more of the questions. First of all, Kristen says she just got her flu shot yesterday. Good for you, Kristen. I'm going on Wednesday. We go as a whole family. It's quite the outing. All 5 of us go and get ours together so the kids aren't afraid when they see their parents doing it too. Carol's asking a question about Yuma, and I do want to get an update for her on Yuma. I'm not sure if it's best to go through AZDHS and click on the county to get Carol an update. But Carol, man, we feel you because I know that all of these counties are moving into categories where they can open up a lot of businesses and schools, and Yuma was not there, and they were so close yesterday. So let's get her updated on how things look there and how many numbers were reported.
Yeah, I'm looking at what things look like right now so I can sort of see where we are for next week. Yeah, it does appear that everything should be on track for next week. Let me bring it up in the website here. I'm going to use did I bring up the schools? I think I did the schools. Let's see. Yeah, this is definitely a school's website. So let's look at this one really quick. You can see Yuma barely, if you remember that 10% line, this is what dropped Yuma out of the running. The consideration for last week is this 10.1% positive, and this increase here. So, and there was, if you look at the ADHS website, there was a large batch testing that was done during this week. And that was probably the correctional institution down there. And it caused the percent positive to increase by a pretty large amount. This next week so far, everything looks fine. It's about 7% right now, and it's not really climbing. But again, because they hit that 10%, it looks like they're going to have to wait at least 2 weeks in order to be considered for a moderate opening at this point, because you have to have 2 weeks of decline. And since they had this rise up to 10.1, now they have to wait 2 weeks.
Kara is asking for the percent positive in Navajo County, and we can show you exactly where to find that, Kara.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the percent positive dashboard, okay, because we can look at the most recent ones rather than the ones that are being used for gating.
It is Friday, Garrett.
Yes, it is Friday, absolutely. So Navajo County, I'm on Apache. That's not going to help anybody. Navajo County, 3% positive. 5% positive, 5% positive. So this is very, very low positives, 3%. And we've seen this in the Navajo Nation numbers. Navajo Nation has reported numbers that are tremendous. They're early March at this point. They're pre-pandemic numbers that we're seeing from the Navajo Nation. So this 3% makes total sense right now. You can see based on their curve, there hasn't been any mass testing over there. And that makes sense to me, because there's no congregate setting, correctional institution, anything up there that would cause for a mass testing event in Navajo County. So let's see, I'm showing what I was looking at for Yuma. This is what I was talking about with that percent positive right there. And you can see where that sort of jumped it to 10%. And then right now they're at 7%. And next week, right now, at this very moment, with not a lot of tests in, they're at about 6%. So they should be fine in a couple weeks.
Can you click on Yavapai County? Fred and Brant are both asking for that. Brant, you've been so patient. Sorry, we want to get to you too. And I want to remind everybody, this is on the ACDHS site. Be sure to select your county and then scroll down, because that's where that percent positive goes week by week. So it's averaged out a little bit. You don't see some of those pops in big numbers or low numbers. It's smoothed out over the week, so it gives you a truer number.
Yep, and you can see right here for Yavapai, they've been pulling in about a 3% positive since early August, and there isn't a change in that at all, and that makes complete sense to me. Yavapai, with the exception of a sort of mini outbreak they had over here, and especially in that Mingus Mountain Academy, it's been a pretty quiet county compared to some of the other counties.
All right, thank you. And Sarah's asking, do you see the numbers rising within 2 weeks due to the holiday weekend? And what will the outcome be governor-wise? So will we see a bump? If we're going to see a bump, it'll be within this time frame. And Garrett, some of the places that we would see it is kind of first in cases, then we'll see it reflected in hospitalizations, and then sadly later reflected in deaths. If it ends up that Labor Day brings a bump to the numbers, and one of the things we saw around Arizona was it seemed, for the most part, we did not see the same things that we saw over Memorial Day. The big parties happening, the things going on at ASU that were just written off as, oh, that's just graduation. But then we saw a huge bump at that point. We also did not have masks everywhere. We had people in line at bars and restaurants, and there were no masks at that point, where so much has changed now for Labor Day.
There were bumps, and I'll show it to you right now if you want to zoom in on this. This is all of them. It's a little hard to read, but I've got all the counties plus Arizona on here. Okay. This is with Memorial Day, and so. Katie, are you still here?
Yeah, your shot froze for me. Sorry.
Okay, all right. I was out for a second. Sorry about that. So let's just look at this really quick. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. These are the mobility indexes for all of the counties. I see that the bottom third is sort of, I'll try to walk through some of those, but you can see, oh, thank you very much. You can see there was a mobility increase in some counties, especially transit counties to California. La Paz County shot up to 500% or 500 of, it's typically at 100. That's where it's supposed to be. And it's at 500. And then Pima County, lots of transit there on Memorial Day. Navajo County, lots of transit. Not on Greenlee, not really in Cochise. Mojave County saw a lot. That's obviously the way you go to Vegas. Santa Cruz County, a lot of transit. Graham County, a pretty decent amount. Maricopa did have a bump. It's right here. It's a pretty sizable bump. Not as big as La Paz's, but it's still there. What's interesting, though, if you look at Arizona, Arizona itself, when you take into consideration all of these counties combined, it didn't register a bump, which to me seems that a lot of this travel, for the most part, especially in Maricopa County and Pima County, was just intra-county. It was people moving around, going to parks or doing something, but not a lot of people went out to, they didn't traverse over counties or especially, again, with Maricopa and Pima. I'm really talking about the populous counties here, the ones that can really impact this Arizona number. Not a lot of traversing going on in those counties. So people did get out of their house. And we're going to have to wait about 2 weeks to see if this is going to cause a bump or not.
Yeah, this is interesting. Where can folks find this site?
This isn't a site. This is me.
This is you being awesome.
This is me plugging away at a computer screen.
This is you being awesome. Thank you, Garrett. It's fascinating though to see that how much that does register though. It's crazy how you could see date to date to date. I'm sure you could see July 4th in there, Memorial Day, all of it. So
yeah, I mean, right here, like say we go to Maricopa County, you can definitely see right here. This is Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Last time, and then there's this strange bump. I don't know what this is. This is July 4th, and then right here, this is Labor Day weekend. So right now, a pretty sizable bump for Monday. But it's only Monday. It didn't actually happen. If you look before, it's really spiked. So to me, again, people didn't travel Friday. They didn't take a 3-day weekend outside of Maricopa County. They stayed in the county, and that's why Arizona itself was like, I'm not really registering a bump, because even though people are moving around, they're not really moving around enough for the state to register a bump.
Yeah,
which I found was very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, it really is. Well, it was hot too, so yeah. Let's just stay inside and get some AC. Boy, is it a lot nicer now. Katie's asking, I don't know if it's already been asked already, what's the current RT, the R naught for Arizona? I'm happy to repeat it. I know it was in the graphic to begin with, so we'll make over this a lot today. It's at 1.10, so it has gone up. The range is from 0.85 all the way up to 1.35, and it's something we'll continue tracking. And Garrett, maybe you and I personally, we can start keeping a tally of how many days that stays up for.
Yeah, well, that's really what we have to do, is see how long. Sort of the way that I interpret that number is if it's there in the upper over 1 for, like I said, about 14 days, that's really when you have concern. But if it just jumps back and forth, even if it's like 3 days in one, you don't panic or get concerned, even if it's 3 days. Like you got to give it like a long time for it to settle on where it's going to be, simply because of all the noise. And we go over that every single time we talk here. Is I tell you, backfilling occurred, or this occurred, and this is why the number's like this today, so that you understand that when you look at these overarching numbers from John Hopkins and others that are comparing us to New York and California and all these other places, to just understand where the comparison is valid and where it's not valid.
Yeah. Al writes that Garrett did an awesome interpretation, citing noise in the numbers to make it less of a concern. He sure did, and it's a little bit earlier, so just scroll back if you missed that at the beginning of our conversation here. One of the other things Al brought up just a little bit ago was last Saturday, Prescott had a huge open market. And the good news I see in your comment is that it was outside. The bad news, more than 1,000 people. Obviously, I'm hoping everyone was wearing a mask up there, and that being outside also helped. But if that does cause an uptick, we will see it within about 2 weeks or so. Do the school districts use the R naught? So each school district, Kimberly, is separate, but what they for sure use, well, they get to make their own decision in all of this, but their guidelines that are given out by the superintendent is, of course, the percent positive, the number of cases per capita, basically. And why am I forgetting the third now, Garrett? Getting the
CLI, because the COVID-like illness syndromic, because that's never gone above 5%.
Yeah.
It's been
it's part of that 3-prong metric, but it's been kind of a non-issue because we just aren't there.
Well, and that's probably the most important thing, that it's been a non-issue, because if it ever becomes an issue, that's really where it's going to hit first. So if it does become an issue, that's when it's like, oh, we have something where we have to be concerned about. So
yes. So Erica writes, Maricopa kind of got the green light for hybrid learning, but our district, Avondale Elementary, did not meet the per district board. that can absolutely happen. I'm in that category. I'm here in Maricopa County, but my kid's school district is not within that metric just yet. So that's why we always stress on here to check all three places. Check the county, which we already know we're cleared there. And obviously you could go back out of that, like we talked about yesterday with Pinal County. Doesn't mean they're shutting down all the schools. It just means it's something to watch. And then look at it for your zip code. Look at it for your school district. Erica's absolutely right in that. You want to track those three places. If you're in Maricopa County, it gives you the drilled down number exactly to that. This is, Garrett, you're so good. He's pulling it right up there for you so you can see. So 3 places you want to check to make sure that your school is meeting that metric.
Yes, and this is, I saw Avondale, so this is Avondale. You can see cases per 100, 65. That's completely within the margins, but that percent positivity is still fairly high at 10.3. It needs to be below 7 in order to get the hybrid. It was at one point very close to 7, and then it had a spike last week, and again, likely to, I don't know what else is in Avondale. I don't know if there's any correctional facilities or just a lot of ASU students, but that can, I mean, if an independent area sort of, has a increase without any other explanation, that could be a concern, but we'll just have to watch it next week to see what happens.
Yeah. Brandy's saying it's been asked several times, not answered yet. Why is the R not rising? Just because you just missed it, Brandy. It was at the beginning. So just take your browser up to the beginning, and we kind of really took a deep dive into that today, and it's all there. Erica writes back, also my child's high school district's in the green, but they aren't different location-wise. So can we pull up the high school district and see how they are for her?
Oh, excuse me. Gotta sneeze.
Well, I think you're becoming allergic to this.
I have no high school districts in the green, at least in Maricopa County. It possibly could be a unified. There are 2 unified districts in the green, which is this one, Wickenburg, and then this one down here, Gila Bend, which doesn't even register because there's just simply not enough people in Gila Bend to register. And then Wickenburg, of course, this is a very remote community outside of Maricopa. And thank you very much, Kimberly. And it's, as you can see, 7.45. So it's already even, in fact, minimal transition at this point. I mean, that's all those numbers basically put it in the green for everything. Open up the gyms and everything else, essentially. I mean, that's what those numbers mean.
Right. So she's writing back, Agua Fria. So Agua Fria High School, Erica? Or Agua Fria? Let's see what we can pull up on here for you.
Let's see. I'll try. I'll just putting it in. I don't know everything. I wish I could say I knew everything by heart, but I don't. Agua Fria Union's actually in the yellow. And that just might have been a miss sort of quote. You can see it did have a slight increased positivity this last week, but everything was very, very, very slight. It was 5.2 2 weeks ago. This week, 6.5. And when I say this week, I mean about 2 weeks ago, just the way everyone understands. And so slight increases, very likely due to ASU students. But I could see that trajectory going back to normal, or at least a downward trajectory. Tempe Union, since everyone's talking about it, this one got hit pretty hard, folks, because of ASU. Yes, you can see their cases per 100 is over 200 at this point. That is all ASU right there. That threw this back in the red. This was yellow last week, and now it's back in the red because of this. So yeah, that is all ASU right there.
Yeah. So just to follow up on Erica's comment, Erica, you might be kind of in the same situation I am, where my zip code was going into the moderate category, and then my school district was still in the substantial category. So just the way things split apart in those 2 different regions made the metric totally different. So it's worth checking all of them. Yeah. So, oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Erica. So they can hybrid in the yellow. That's what she's asking. Yeah. If it's under 7%. So check the percent, because I've seen some turn yellow. Like one I looked at today had turned yellow, but it wasn't under the 7%. And that's where that metric is supposed to.
Yeah. I have a separate map for my own purposes that actually separates it. They really should have an orange category here.
Yeah,
because they do have a couple. In fact, it looks like all the unions are fine. The unifieds are, but when you go over here to some of the here's one, Glendale Union High School District. Even though it is considered, it is yellow, it's still virtual on site because of 2 weeks ago at an 8.1. It does appear that Glendale Union will recalculate to a full yellow, a hybrid learning by next week.
Yeah. Just as a reminder, everybody, we will not not tolerate ableist or racist comments in the comment section at all, at all. We're just going to take you right off the feed if it's an ableist or racist comment. It is so gone. I'm so sorry. That is absolutely not allowed. So we've just had to deal with someone there. So we want this to be a safe environment where you can get the best information for yourself and your family so that you can make the best choices for them. And that's why we go through all these numbers each and every day, because people have a lot of questions. Garrett, my child's school just sent out a survey. They want to know a little bit more about our plans for the future. They were closed until October 13th, and then considering moving into a hybrid situation. So they want to talk to parents and see how they're feeling, not unlike what we've just seen in I believe, Paradise Valley and Scottsdale school districts and some of the others. So they just sent out a robocall just a little bit ago to ask what everybody would like to do as we move forward to keep everybody safe and still keep them learning at the same time. All right, we're heading into a weekend. We only have a few minutes left here. What are you going to be watching over this weekend? And we will track that R0 number for everybody as we go forward, so we can have a place to kind of keep you updated on what's happening here.
I'm going to be watching, so obviously always watching the changeover on the CLI on Sunday. Very important to see what happens with the CLI numbers. Emergency room departments, ringing phone.
Popularity.
Yes, emergency department visits. Always very important to watch over. But of course, I'm also going to be doing my full sort of slate of calculations to see what the sort of that noised data looks like, how much backfilling is going on, because that seems to be really putting a pressure on the RT number. And I know a lot of people are watching it. So I'm going to watch that to see, so I can give an explanation as to what might be happening.
Yeah, we'll kind of keep count for you guys. I saw somebody asking, and I'm happy to answer this too. This is obviously where we talk about coronavirus, but Jacqueline's writing, thinking of traveling to AZ from LA because of the smoke. Is it safe to visit? I'm looking out here. It's not even sunny today because it is so smoky here. So before you try to escape the smoke, it's smoky here. And I know there's a big difference between being right in a fire. That has been one of my most traveled to assignments in being a journalist here in Arizona, is going to all of the fires. So I know that there was a big difference, but if you were hoping for sunshine and nice weather, it's still smoky here. So let's see. Okay. Oh, Julie, you're so welcome. She writes, thank you. I appreciate the information and clarification. So happy to help you, Julie. And thanks for joining us on here. And hopefully we got some of those questions answered. Stephen writes, oh, your ringtone is back. Yes, we could gauge Garrett's popularity as well. We have so many different meetings to get to today. I think our bosses are trying to get to many meetings before the weekend hits and get everybody in the newsroom caught up. And of course, we all have to stop and go to these virtual meetings, just like so many of you who are working from home. So yeah, Jacqueline writes, oh wow, thank you. I know. I hope I don't discourage you from visiting our awesome state, but yeah, right now it's definitely smoky and kind of gross out there. So and Garrett, you said you're going to be keeping track of these numbers, and the place to find Garrett over the weekend, I want to remind all of you, is at Garrett_Archer. Check his site, before noon, and he kind of gives an update of some of the things we go over here. Just a real quick snapshot of how things look here in Arizona, how the hospitalization numbers are, and because we don't meet with you guys here on the weekends, it's a great place to check. I'll try to retweet what he's posting there. My Twitter account is at Katie Raml. Diane writes, thank you. Love you guys. We love you too. Thanks for taking time out of your day for us, Diane. And then my Facebook account, if that's your preferred method, is facebook.com/news from Katie. Keep you updated and keep the conversation going there as well. And to remind you, our afternoon newscast and evening newscasts are at 4, 5, 6, and 10 p.m. You're welcome, Maze. Thank you. And also at 9, we added a 9 p.m. newscast over on CW61. So we hope you'll make time for that. Or if you go to bed a little bit earlier through this pandemic, I found that I want to. I don't always get to, with kids waking up early to have school from home. Stephen writes, have a good weekend. You too, Stephen. Thank you. We'll be back here with you on Monday, tracking all the very latest numbers as they pertain to the coronavirus here in Arizona. Be safe, everybody.